Hello and welcome to Rise Unwind. My name is Dan. You know, each and every week we try to talk to people from across the country about things you could do in your neighborhood. You didn't know that? Well, now you do. And on this week's show, we got this.
Rock You Like a Hurricane. The 80s were extremely good for the Scorpions.
All of that and more right here on that show we like to call Rise and Unwind. So what happens after you leave the biggest band in music history? For Paul McCartney, the end of the Beatles wasn't the end of the story. It was the start of a whole new chapter. Man on the Run from Oscar-winning director Morgan Neville takes us inside Paul's post-Beatles years, the launch of Wings, and a deeply personal decade that shaped his solo legacy. Morgan joins us today to talk about the film Paul McCartney, Man on the Run, which is now available on Prime Video. Welcome to the show, Morgan. How are you?
I'm very good. Good talking to you.
All right. The Beatles breakup is one of the most talked about moments in music history. What did you discover about Paul during that immediate aftermath that might surprise some of the fans out there?
I mean, so much. I mean, if you watch Get Back, Peter Jackson's kind of 8-hour version of the Beatles at the end, making Let It Be, you see Paul is driving everything. Songs are pouring out of him. And the question is, what happens the day that disappears? And what happens is that Paul has a true heartbreak. I mean, he's the one that wanted the Beatles more than anybody. And, you know, he essentially is told by John Lennon that John wants a divorce from the band. And Paul, within 2 weeks, runs off to Scotland with his new wife, Linda, and their new baby, Mary, and tries to figure out what he's going to do. Is he even going to make music anymore? And so these next few years, he really struggles. And that's the part of the story I don't think people really understand, you know, and that whole life of him trying to figure out who he was if he wasn't a Beatle.
So what was that period for him, like creatively and personally, and him trying to find himself?
It was in some ways, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. I mean, I think, you know, publicly, the public was angry that because they were heartbroken. So how dare you guys break up? Why can't you just be the Beatles? You know, what are you doing? And Paul's wife, Linda, takes a lot of flack for, you know, did she help break up the band? Same thing happened with John and Yoko. You know, there's just a lot of kind of anger, and the critics are saying, you know, your music isn't as good as what the Beatles were. You know, it was kind of an impossible shadow to escape, but that's Paul's mission. He has no choice but to try and escape it. So he tries and tries different things for years to kind of see who am I and what is my voice now as just Paul McCartney. And part of that then comes into fruition when he starts the band Wings. So it's the model he knows. I'm going to be in a band with some other people, and there's a camaraderie to it that makes me feel like I'm not alone. And through that, he finally starts doing albums like Band on the Run and becomes kind of more the Paul of who we know today.
And we also get to see some rare archival footage and a little bit of intimate family photography from Linda McCartney. How did those elements help you tell a more vulnerable side of Paul's story?
I mean, there's incredible footage we found. I mean, there's footage of Paul filming himself alone, writing songs at a piano, or with the kids, you know, and the singing songs at Christmas time. You know, there is a real intimacy to the footage, and that's really the main thing I wanted to convey, that this is a story kind of from the inside out. It's a story where we really kind of understand what Paul was dealing with and how he was dealing with it. You see an insecurity in Paul that I don't think you really see publicly.
So what do you think the story tells about resilience and reinvention?
I mean, I think it's a story, and Paul's story is how not to doubt your own creative instincts. You know, I think, you know, the world always wants you to doubt what you do and judge what you do. And I think Paul's strength at this time is, I'm going to do whatever the hell I feel like. And that's fine. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, fine. And he does some crazy things that work and things that don't work. You know, he releases, you know, Mary Had a Little Lamb as a 45, which, you know, nobody particularly likes. But then he puts out Mull of Kintyre, which becomes the biggest selling single in England in history. So they're both kind of crazy ideas. But I think he was all about embracing the crazy idea at the time. So creatively, I think it's pretty inspirational.
And for some of the lifelong Beatle fans out there, or even some of the brand new fans that may just know Paul from today, what do you hope audiences may take away after watching Man on the Run?
I mean, I know because everybody tells me this, when you're done watching the film, you're going to go listen to a lot of music because there's a lot of music to explore. But also just an understanding that Paul's a real person dealing with real issues that are actually pretty relatable.
Morgan, I want to thank you for joining me today. Paul McCartney, Man on the Run, is available now on Prime Video. It's an intimate look at a music icon, redefining himself in real time, and it's a must-watch for any music fan. Morgan Neville, I want to thank you for joining me today.
Great talking to you.
Depression impacts 21 million adults in the U.S., and for many, it's more than just a bad day. Major depressive disorder can mean weeks of exhaustion, loss of interest, and struggling to keep up with everyday life, even while in treatment. This morning, we're joined by Dr. Saundra Jain, a licensed psychotherapist with more than 30 years of experience, and Kelly Uchima, a mental health advocate who's sharing her own journey with depression. Welcome to both of you.
Thank you. So glad to be with you this morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Dr. Jain, first, what exactly is major depressive disorder, and how is that different from everyday stress or feeling sad?
Such a great question. You know, major depressive disorder is a pervasive and chronic condition, sometimes with persistent symptoms that will last for weeks, loss of interest in regular activities, fatigue, loss of motivation. What I would want our viewers to know is it impacts a person globally in their social life, their personal life, their work life, family life. So it impacts their ecosystem. Now, I'm going to invite Kelly to speak to how that's different than regular stress, because as a person with lived experience, you're an expert.
Well, everything you said was what I first heard in my life at 19. I was diagnosed with depression, and I cannot tell you how affirming that was, because growing up, I truly felt like something was so wrong with me. I must be the only girl in this universe who has such trouble with what felt like the smallest mundane things. And I've been so lucky to find tools like therapy, taking antidepressants, and other things in my life to have a higher quality of life, which I never ever thought would be possible for me. So it's pretty cool to know that you're not alone.
Now, we know many adults still experience symptoms even while they're in treatment. From your perspective, why does that happen, and what gives you hope for where care is headed?
Absolutely, I can speak to that. The current standard of care in the world of major depressive disorder is typically an antidepressant, so medication, and or psychotherapy. And many patients, we know this, they do respond to the treatment, it's helpful, but then there are a group of people, patients, certainly in my private practice, where there is partial response. And so what makes me really hopeful is an emerging area in mental health, which is called prescription digital therapeutics. So this technology is going to offer a new tool to our patients in terms of their treatment plan.
Now, there's a lot about technology support tools. How do these fit into depression treatment landscapes, and how could they change what day-to-day care looks like?
Great question. If I could start, Kelly, I would say this, that there is a difference between wellness apps as compared to prescription digital therapeutics. And the way they're different, and if I may, I'll speak about a specific prescription digital therapeutic called Rejoin. Kelly and I are so excited to be here this morning on behalf of Rejoin. And so Rejoin is an authorized prescription app for the treatment of the symptoms of MDD for adults 22 and over. It's an adjunct to their ongoing treatment of an antidepressant. And so it doesn't replace treatment. And I wonder, Kelly, could you talk a little bit about your experience with Rejoin?
When I first learned about Rejoin, and we're both here on behalf of Rejoin, before knowing about these digital therapeutics, I believed, as many of my friends who struggle with depression do, that all of this is just a chemical imbalance. And if I did not, quote unquote, fix that, which that's not our goal, our goal is to hopefully feel better, I didn't know that there was such thing called neuroplasticity, which is my brain's ability to change. In my depressive brain, the thinking and feeling parts of my brain have a lot of trouble communicating, which makes it really hard for me to regulate my emotions and do tasks that I do really want to do every day.
I love that. If I could add, neuroplasticity, really what you said, Kelly, the brain's ability to change, it's both maladaptive in the world of major depression, but with prescription digital therapeutic like Rejoin, it is an adaptive neuroplasticity. And the message is through that, it is hopeful for patients, a new addition to their treatment care plan.
Callie, you've been very open about your mental health journey. What excites you the most right now? Tell me whether that's new treatment options, reducing stigma, or helping people feel less alone.
I'm most excited to feel how normalized and actually comforting these conversations are worldwide. I don't know about you, but I grew up in a household where we did not talk about emotions, feelings, anything that wasn't happy and positive. A lot of it was just keep everything buried underneath. And all of these conversations have confirmed to me and affirmed that it's not just me who's going through this. And it has felt very inspiring to know others going through these things that I thought was so unique to me, because I feel encouraged to find tools and keep working at a higher quality of life for myself. And like I said, I never thought I'd be in this place talking to you about this and being in a happier place for myself.
Dr. Jain, from a clinical standpoint, what stands out to you about the growing understanding of mental health and these newer technological support options for patients?
Well, we've kind of touched on that a bit, AV, around, Kelly, you said about a chemical imbalance. We're learning more about depression and these underlying mechanisms, and that is this neuroplasticity. Rejoin in particular is specifically designed to improve the communication between that thinking and feeling part of the brain. And by doing so, it may actually reduce the symptoms of MDD and thereby outcomes being better.
Now, for someone watching right now that may be struggling with depression, what is that one message that you want them to hear?
Go ahead.
I'd say you are not broken, and there is an ability for your brain to change.
Sorry, Kelly. I would just add a message of hope. Ask for help and reach out. And if you're interested in learning more about Rejoin, please visit the website, meetrejoin.com. And on a last note, Kelly and I are happy to share that there is a discount code, REJOIN26.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for all of that information. Dr. Jain, thank you for your time. And Kelly, thank you for your story. And have a good day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you ever dream of uncovering lost treasure, exploring ancient tunnels, or even chasing down history's greatest mysteries? You know, Josh Gates lives that adventure for real. And he's back with brand new seasons of Expedition Unknown and Expedition Files on Discovery Channel. Fresh off a Daytime Emmy win, Josh's latest expeditions dig deeper than ever, from inside Egypt's Great Pyramid to tracking hidden treasures around the world. Josh, it's great to see you here.
Thanks for having me, man.
All right, I guess without giving out too much away or spoiling for everybody, what is one moment this season that you thought to yourself, I can't believe we're actually pulling this off?
I think it's our season premiere, which is this big 2-hour, 2-part special on the Great Pyramid of Giza. And look, this building, which is 4,500 years old, has always inspired conspiracy theories and mystery. And so we are going to crawl through every inch of the Great Pyramid, sections that are closed to the public. We're going to descend deep beneath the pyramid into the bedrock itself. And to be down there in those tunnels was just such an absolute, electric thrill. And to take our viewers with us, that's the moment where I was like, I can't believe we're doing this.
Fans love both Expedition Unknown and Expedition Files. Can you give us the elevator pitch? What is the biggest difference between the two shows and why people should be tuned in for both hours?
Sure. I mean, Expedition Unknown is our boots on the ground exploration adventure show. So we spend the whole hour, or in the season premiere, 2 hours, investigating far-flung mysteries around the world. That's where we're going to be crawling in tunnels, macheting through jungles, diving into the unknown. Expedition Files, we are able to tackle 3 stories per per hour, and these are incredibly iconic mysteries. I serve as a kind of guide through those stories, taking our viewers into the past, meeting experts and authors and historians that have, revelations, breaking news about some of the most famous cases in history. So that's really kind of pulling open the adventure filing cabinet and looking into these really awesome stories. And Expedition Unknown invites you to literally get dirty and get out there in the world with us.
Josh Gates says, if you want to be a Bilbo Baggins and go on an adventure, pull a Nike and just do it. See, like I put two.
Just do it.
Yeah, there you go. Josh Gates, I want to thank you for joining me today. If you are into real-world mysteries, big swings, and a host who actually gets dirt under his nails, watch Josh Gates on Discovery. New episodes of Expedition Unknown and Expedition Files on Wednesday nights. Check your local listings and stream full episodes at discovery.com. Thanks for hanging out with me, Josh.
Hey, all the best, man. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Heart disease is still the #1 killer in the United States, and millions of Americans are taking statins every day to lower their risk. But new research is showing a lot of people may not understand how those medications affect something called CoQ10, an enzyme that plays a key role in heart health. Dr. Tania Elliot is a dual board-certified physician, internal medicine, and immunology, and she's here to walk us through what this new study found and what patients should be discussing with their doctors. Welcome to the show, Dr. Elliot. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so first, what exactly is CoQ10 and why does it matter so much when we're talking about heart health?
So coenzyme Q10 is a compound that is essential for our muscles to create energy and for our muscles to function. And the highest concentration of coenzyme Q10 is in our heart, which is a muscle. Lots of people think, oh, your heart's an organ. Well, it's actually a muscle, right? And it needs lots of energy and it needs lots of coenzyme Q10. Now, the issue with CoQ10 is it decreases with age. It's not just found in the heart muscles, but it's found in other muscles in the body too. And it decreases with statin use. Now, statins are really important to be on if you have high cholesterol and you have risk for cardiovascular disease. Over 90 million Americans are on statins. They're super important medications, and they're really good at lowering cholesterol levels, but they also inadvertently lower our coenzyme Q10 levels.
And you're releasing new study results. What stood out most to you?
So the study was conducted by a leading supplement company called Doctors Best. And what they want to understand is what are people's general understanding of their risk for heart disease and what to do about it. And the study revealed that over 60% of people didn't even know their heart disease risk, which is wild because we know it's the #1 killer of Americans, and one person dies every 34 seconds from heart disease. The second thing it showed is that 50% of Gen Zers, so these are people under the age of 30, were worried about their heart, and they cited stress and chronic stress as that major risk factor for not feeling well, for having low energy, and for feeling fatigued. And we know stress is a risk factor for heart disease. It also showed that 17% of those Gen Zers, so these are people under the age of 30 that we, in our minds, think are healthy, right? 17% of those survey respondents were on a statin for their cholesterol and to protect against heart disease. And very few people knew anything about this correlation between being on a statin and that statin lowering CoQ10 levels.
All right, for somebody out there that is thinking, okay, what do I do with this? What conversation should they be having with their doctor to lower their heart disease risk?
First things first is understanding your lifetime risk of developing heart disease. And so getting your cholesterol levels checked, being checked for diabetes, which is an independent risk factor for heart disease, and then having a conversation with your doctor about any other tests that you should do. There's an imaging study that could actually take a picture of your heart to determine whether or not you've got plaque buildup in your heart. And there are other blood tests that are a little bit more precise at helping you identify what your lifetime risk is of cardiovascular disease. So now we've got awareness. The second piece is understanding the relationship between statins and CoQ10. And that's really a conversation with your doctor to say, hey, I'm on a statin. Is CoQ10 supplementation right for me? And usually I say to patients, hey, just eat your supplements, get it from your diet and food. But the highest concentration of CoQ10 is found in organ meat. So I found that to be kind of a hard sell for my patients to recommend eating organ meat every day. And lots of them prefer the supplementation. So chat with your doctor about it. We understand that people who are on CoQ10 supplementation actually have better cardiac outcomes.
You're right. The joys of snacking on organ meat is not something I go for. All right, so where can people go if they want to read more or learn more about this research?
You can check out doctorsbest.com to learn more about CoQ10. They have a CoQ10 supplement that's bioavailable. You want to make sure the supplement you're taking is actually something your body can use, so that's important. And also just general stats and information about heart disease and what you could do to lower your heart disease risk.
Dr. Elliot, I want to thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Have you ever wondered what it really takes to send technology to the moon and then make it work once it's there? There's a new documentary called Drive Me to the Moon. It takes viewers behind the scenes of a groundbreaking lunar mission and the collaboration that made it possible. So joining us today is Fabiana Neves, Vice President of Castrol Americas, to talk about the film and why this moment matters for the future of space exploration. Welcome to the show, Fabiana. How are you?
Thank you for having me. All good here today. Thank you.
All right, for our viewers just hearing about it, what is Drive Me to the Moon and what story does the documentary tell?
Drive Me to the Moon is a documentary where you will see everything behind the scenes on what it takes to be in the moon, from the concept to design to collaboration to bringing innovation, technology, and all steps towards making sure, hey, we are in the moon again.
And the movie follows the Lunar Voyage 1 mission from early testing to touchdown on the moon. What do you think will surprise people most when they watch it?
Well, the first one is making sure that the collaboration with the private sector and how new innovation has evolved and made it possible for the first time ever be in the lunar South Pole. So that's a pioneer opportunity never done before. And you can see firsthand, right, so on the documentary.
Mission control is also a big part of the story. What makes this operation so unique compared to past lunar missions?
Mission control is the brain behind the machines and truly what monitors, give control, as well as receive the data and insights of everything that is happening from the moment of the launch until the machine is in there, right? So is the brain, is the women behind everything that happens, right? So the ability to monitor, to receive the images, the data, the insights, and then turn this into actions that we can learn and evolve further is definitely the heart and the brain behind everything happening there.
And Castrol has been involved in space exploration for decades. How did that experience shape their role in this mission and making of this film?
For over 7 decades, we have been partnering with NASA since the Apollo mission, worked with the Mars missions, with the rovers, the Opportunity, the Curiosity, the Perseverance rovers, and our technology have evolved and enabled these missions to be successful. Now partnering with Lunar Outpost and the private sector to making sure that we do evolve, that we bring the technology and our lubricants enable those missions to be successful is critical, has been critical for Castrol. We are really, really proud of being partnering and working and evolving with the space industry.
With renewed excitement around lunar exploration right now, how does this mission help set the stage for what's coming next?
Yeah, great question. We are definitely keen to support the goal of finding a sustainable way of having human presence in the moon. This mission was a first step towards that goal, so we are keen to continue partnering and making sure that, hey, we can make this a reality and there is a sustainable way for having human presence in the moon.
So where can our viewers go check out Drive Me to the Moon and maybe get more information?
You can go to our website, castrol.com/drive me to the moon. And also you can find us on YouTube.
Fabiana Neves, I want to thank you for joining me today.
Thank you.
More than 60 years of rock and they're still filling arenas. From Rock You Like a Hurricane to Wind of Change, the Scorpions have sold over 110 million records and helped define rock for generations. Now they're heading back to Las Vegas for a brand new residency celebrating 6 decades of music. So joining us from Germany, we've got Klaus, Meine, and Matthias of Scorpions. It's great to have you both here. How are you?
Great.
Very good. How are you? Thanks for having
Good morning.
us.
I'm doing good. All right. It's been 60 years. That's one heck of a long time for pretty much any business. When you look back, what stands out most about the journey from those in the early days in Hanover to now headlining another Vegas residency?
Oh, it's crazy when you think about it, you know, because for German band, when we started out in the early 70s, writing lyrics in English, you know, it was a big dream, you know, to say one day we'll play the United States. And when we had the chance to come over in 79 and throughout the 80s, you know, this dream came true, you know, and it's a wonderful thing after so many years that we're still together, still playing a global stage and, still rocking like a hurricane. And we can't wait to come back for another residency in Vegas in September and hope many, many fans from all over the place will join us and see us there.
And songs, like you mentioned, Rock You Like a Hurricane, No One Like You, and Winds of Change, still connect with a new audience. What do you think gives those songs that staying power?
I mean, first of all, with No One Like You, I think we were in 1982 with a Blackout tour. We were the most played radio song on rock radio, at least, and gave us the headline status in the States touring, and then followed by Rock You Like a Hurricane. The 80s were extremely good for the Scorpions, and with Wind of Change, we topped it all in the early 90s, and those are three iconic songs which we still play live and which carried us through the decades, you know, plus many other songs like Still Loving You, Big City Nights, whatever we have. And all those greatest hits we will play on stage at the residency in Vegas.
Yes, Vegas has become a home base for you. The last couple of years, and I think we talked last year, what makes this residency different from the previous runs you've done?
We have to find out. I mean, we are still on the 60th anniversary tour. We will always play the greatest hits because, you know, there's such a great demand from the fans. But we have time enough to think about something very special.
So when you build the set list for a show like this, how do you balance the massive hits with some of the deeper cuts and maybe even some new material?
They have to be a good balance, you know, because there's so many songs that the fans want to hear, definitely, you know, and so we throw in songs also from Rock Believer, our latest album, you know, so like songs like Gas in the Tank, but also all-time classics like The Zoo, Loving You Sunday Morning, Tease Me, Please Me, you know, all these rockers, and a couple of beautiful ballads like Send Me an Angel are in the set as well, you know, so many songs we just have to play, and then we think about on digging deep into some other material we haven't played for quite a while.
So after 6 decades, what still excites you about walking on stage and hearing that crowd?
The fans. I mean, it's the roar of the audience. The minute you go out, you might be nervous before you walk out on stage, but the minute you see the fans, you're connected and it clicks, you know, and together we have a magic evening, rocking out like crazy. And especially in Vegas, there couldn't be a better place to celebrate 60 years of Scorpions.
Hey, I want to thank you two for joining me today. Scorpions coming home to Las Vegas. 60 plus years of Scorpions kick off this fall at PH Live at Planet Hollywood Resort and Casino. Tickets are on sale now. Get them at Ticketmaster.com/ScorpionsVegas. If you ever wanted to hear those anthems live in one room, this is your chance. I want to thank you two one more time for joining me today.
Thank you so much.
And enjoy. Have a good day.
And that is it for Rise Unwind. I want to thank you for tuning in and checking out the show. I know it's so sad we got to leave so early, but if you like us so much, you want to follow us on social media, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, our website, that's riseunwindtv.com, or subscribe to our YouTube channel, also at Rise Unwind. And until next week, that was the show we like to call Rise and Unwind.